Speaking of the Tigers, we went through pitching chaos last year. How do you feel about lineup chaos? Concerns that this season could go south given just what we're looking at right now. It's Parker Meadows, it's Matt Vierling, it's the unanswered question at third base. John, I was sitting here mapping it out. They've got 4 different players displaced on defense. That's half of the defense. I don't know if they've got enough bats. I don't know if they're going to play enough defense behind this pitching staff. I do have a concern that we could be living last year where we're wasting a pitching staff for much of the season.
Well, I think that's a major concern, but I also am curious. Maybe the pitching chaos overshadowed the lineup chaos, and now this year we're not even talking about the offensive side. We're just talking about defense. Who's going to play third? Who's going to play right field? Who's going to play center? It's going to be Riley Green. How much do you not want him to play center? Simply because you don't want him to increase his risk of injury. Wenzel Perez is going to be there. It's going to be a number of different individuals, but last year it was lineup chaos pretty much throughout the course of the season because you have guys like Kerry Carpenter, who's going to probably be DH against all right-handed pitchers. Mm-hmm. Well, he's not going to be DH against the left-handed hitter or pitcher. That is Spencer Torkelson. And so you have to constantly mix and match left-handed hitters with this pitcher, right-handed hitters with this pitcher, and then throughout the course of the game, you've got a pinch hitter, you've got a pinch runner, and then you're trying to figure out, well, maybe we can't pinch hit this individual because then we have no one else to play third base. It just adds another wrinkle, and it's completely insane.
You could default to the position of, I trust A.J. Hinch. And I'd understand it. AJ's a hell of a manager. They made it work last year with the pitching staff and to an extent manufactured what they could offensively, right? They sent the runners. They were aggressive on the base paths. They used every platoon leverage opportunity they could with pinch hitters and pinch runners. But it feels even more extreme right now. Torque is displaced. Keith is displaced. Green is displaced. Baez is displaced. Are any of them going to be upgrades? Like, they like Riley Green in left field. If they have to play him more at center, that's not ideal. Torkelson is playing the outfield for the first time since 2018. Is that ideal? Colt Keith's learning a brand new position where if you boot a ball over at first, that's an out that turns into a base runner and extends an inning. Javi Baez is already committing errors at third base. He hasn't played the position regularly, again, since 2018. Are any of these upgrades? I didn't even mention how they're going to do in the batter's box. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's already the obvious question about Baez and Torque. And are we getting any better defensively while still having the same questions in the batter's box?
I think there's a chance that Baez could be an upgrade over McKinstry or Ibanez or down the list, Colt Keith at third base.
Defensively, you're saying?
Defensively, yes. Oh, yes. We're talking defense here. Offensively, Not the guy you want to bet on to be an upgrade anywhere at the plate. Maybe over Jace Young.
Well, right. And it's two things. It's the third base thing, which is a thing, and it's the injuries in the outfield. It's Parker Meadows and it's Matt Vierling. And Scott Harris is not responsible for the injuries in his outfield, but there is a fair question about the organization's issues.
He's responsible for depth.
Depth and really the starting third base spot. So Jace Young gets sent down. He was not ready. No one's saying throw him into the fire. If he didn't perform in spring training, he should start in AAA. But Jace Young is a college bat who this summer will be 3 years removed from college. It's kind of got to be soon here for Jace. And if he doesn't stick at third, it would be a long list of other guys they've tried at third. Torque was drafted as a third baseman. Colt Keith played 1,000 innings of third base in the minors. Jahan has actually played more games at third than any other position, but they've bumped him over as kind of a DH outfield first baseman. McGonigal, who was drafted as a shortstop second baseman, he's playing third. Hyu Lee was traded for as a second baseman. Now he's playing third. They're kind of haphazardly trying to find a third baseman. They tried for Bregman. It didn't work out, but they had no fallback. The plan was, I guess, Vierling, who again has hardly played third base in his career. They had no plan at third base. Backup plan, I should say.
Right, yeah, because the plan was, now playing in Boston. And that to me is the big concern. Now, we all applauded the fact that they made a legitimate offer, maybe the best offer to get a third baseman, and it didn't work out. What's the backup plan? And if Jace Young, if that's your backup plan and he is not developing at the rate that you need him to develop, Now the answer needs to be you've got to go get yourself a third baseman. You've got to go get yourself a guy that can man that position and has a decent bat at the plate. How do you do that? Free agency's over. You're not developing them right now, so you've got to go and trade for one.
Yeah, the current crop would have Andy Ibanez, first game of the season against the lefty. He hits lefties, but by their decision-making, they don't like him against righties. So righties will be the majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
McKinstry is a bad bat. He is. And Baez is terrible against righties because they can just throw the slider in the other batter's box and he can't help himself. It's like me with pizza at the wedding. I mean, those are the options.
Yes.
248-539-9797. And to bring it all together, it was Tom who said pre-show, he goes, I am concerned that this goes south this year. That all the excitement of last year and being in the playoffs and being a win away from the ALCS, it's all wasted.
I just don't think you can survive doing this for more than probably 30 to 45 days. Like they can fight their way through the beginning of the season, piecing this lineup together. But defensively, I don't know how you can survive losing two of your starting outfielders, basically, especially a center fielder who is outstanding at the position. And so the middle of the defense, you're going, don't worry about catcher defensively, really, but middle of your defense is second and short and then the center fielder. And in Comerica Park especially, I mean, bottom line is, I thought Parker Meadows was probably the number one reason why they flipped last year. Like, I'm not taking away from Tarek Skubal and Riley Green, but the reason it changed in terms of winning and the way the rate they won at was Meadows. They went 54-28 with him in the lineup. That's way too big. That's half a season in baseball.
Yeah. I think if you talked to us at the end of last season, we would have said, boy, I could be convinced the 2025 is going to be a fun year because I'm getting a full year of Parker Meadows, right? I'm getting a third baseman or someone on the left side of the infield. I'm not going to see Javi Baez, right? All the things we would have talked ourselves into, and none of them are happening right now. You could have said, hey, maybe Jace Young will solidify it. It hasn't happened yet. All the things you would have pointed to didn't happen.
So let me ask you this, Tom. Surviving the first 30 or 45 days, what does that even mean? Because we all know you're opening up with the Dodgers. You've got Seattle. You got 6 games on the road to start the season. Then you come home for 3 against Chicago. Okay, those should be winnable games.
Yep.
Then you've got the Yankees. You got the Twins on the road. You've got the Brewers on the road. And then you've got 4 at home against Kansas City. And, oh, by the way, then here comes San Diego.
And Baltimore and Houston.
Right. So what does surviving the first 30 days look like?
I think it's within a couple games of 500. You know, you don't want to fall in a hole like last year where you're 10 games under 500 45 days into the season. The reason I'm using 30 to 45 is my anticipation is that Meadows will get this thing going. The nerve will activate, and then he's going to have to go to Toledo or wherever and get back up on timings,
Ramped up.
Yeah. And so you're looking somewhere at the end of April to mid-May. That would be my guess on this. I'm no doctor.
I think that would be optimistic, right? That would be things wake up now, and then he gives himself a month to get his feet under him.
Yeah, I mean, the vibe I'm getting from the Tigers is that Meadows will be back. Everything they say, but I do think with Vierlane, it's, once he starts throwing, I don't know how a rotator cuff gets better.
And the moves, sometimes they tell you without telling you, right? Javi playing more third is a reflection of not having Vierling as an option at third. Having Torque play a little right field. How much of that is a reflection of not having Vierling for right field?
Jim, me and you, if we had a rotator cuff issue flare up, if we rested, the doctors, let's rest it, and then let's look at it again. We could probably get away with not having a surgery. I don't know how a baseball player does. Right. I'm just using common sense here. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
You're not a doctor.
But to lose both of them, I think the impact, you're talking about 2 guys that would be hitting 1 and 2 some days in your lineup.
And
now the projected MLB.com lineup, they just posted last night, Wenzel Perez is your leadoff hitter opening day, and he's playing in center field.
Can you give us that full lineup?
He's a solid player. I like it.
Don't do it right now. We'll do it coming up next. We got some phone calls. Is there kind of this dark cloud over what should be an exciting season of Tiger baseball? What's your mood as the injuries mount and Jace Young goes down?